She's over me. She comes me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. This is our Night Terrors. We are here with you on this fine Sunday edition, which also is Easter or Stara or Estra or whatever you say it, however you pronounce it, whatever you're observing. We love you and thank you for spending it here with us. Hope you all are having a wonderful day, despite all of the weirdness going on in our world. Sorry, I was trying to pound down some food quick before the show because, it's, got to eat every once in a while, turns out. And I had to eat quick because I'm here with you guys, so sorry it was a few minutes late. I was literally just chewing the life out of a brat quick so I could get on the air. It wasn't pretty, but it was productive, so. But hope you guys are doing great. Thank you so much. Ethan says, Cha-Cha, the queen of the paranormal portal. Wow, I didn't even know there was an election. I didn't vote for her. Monty Python. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. Anyway, hope you guys are doing great. Thanks for being here. This is the Night Terrors. These are our shorter formats of the paranormal portal. And I think my mic's a little hot. Is it a little hot to you guys? I guess it's okay. But the phone lines will be open during the duration of the show. This is we usually cover ghost stories and ghostly encounters on the show here, so on the Night Terrors. So I hope you guys enjoy ghost stories because I got a bunch for you, and I hope that they keep you wildly entertained throughout the duration of our journey through the paranormal portal tonight. But I don't know. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you, but I hope you're ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're officially underway here on the Paranormal Portal. Thank you so much again for being here and being a part of what we're doing. I appreciate it bunches. It's been a crazy day. So I actually had to air some laundry today, and I don't know if you guys caught it, but basically somebody, and I don't know where they came to this conclusion anyway, but somebody on Twitter just totally had a like a liberal meltdown on me, and I don't generally get political because, what's the point? I mean, everybody has their opinions and they're pretty well defined in their ideas. And I don't find discussing politics to be very productive, especially in today's world, because, people are so catalyzed and so divisive about it. And it doesn't matter to me what your political leanings are. But somehow this guy got the idea that I was, completely conservative and totally, behind 100% the president. And I don't dislike the president like a lot of people. I think he does some things really well, and I think there's other things that he doesn't do quite as well. But my political leanings are pretty much all over the map. I don't really have a party. Sorry, my eyes are burning. But I don't really have a party, but whatever. So, and I don't know if this is the forum for it, but it really kind of ticked me off because this guy just really came unglued, and I was like, wow, what a bastard thing to say, and I was, I don't begrudge the guy that he's got his opinions. He's obviously very passionate about them, and I think that's wonderful, but he just unloaded on me, and I was like, wow, I don't know. I just tried to handle it the best I could, but I haven't experienced that a lot with the show because I do try to stay really neutral about things because I figure everybody that's listening generally is an adult and can form their own opinions. The part that I took the most umbrage with was the fact that his position was that if I didn't believe the same that he did, that he I wasn't intelligent and there was something wrong with me. And I have such problem with that divisiveness and that idea. And I just wanted to air it publicly because it's like, wow. First of all, I never really post anything about, politics. All I do on Twitter at the most is post show stuff, and every once in a while I'll read through the tweets. If I see something I like, I'll like it. If I see something I don't like, I'll leave it alone because, it is what it is. But the only thing I can think is this guy must have seen that I liked some tweet either by the president or some other person, and that would be more conservatively leaning. And I don't know. I mean, whatever, it is what it is. I follow lots of different people. I follow the president, obviously, because I want to know what the hell's going on. I also don't, I don't necessarily think he's usually wisely executing his Twitter, but at the same point, it's fine, whatever. But whether you believe it or not is up to you. But the part that I took the most offense at was, why would you? He's like, oh, I'm not going to follow you. I'm going to unsubscribe in about 30 seconds. I can't believe you support this racist, dim-witted, et cetera, POTUS. And, he just went off. And I was like, wow, So I don't know. I just thought I'd just air that out there and, not for any specific purpose other than I guess I'm still venting because I found it really offensive. Whether I follow someone on Twitter or not doesn't mean that is my political ideation or leanings. I just, am interested in some things and not interested in other things. I am really rarely on Twitter anyway. I mean, I maybe spend about 5 minutes a day on Twitter just going through the feeds and stuff. And I usually just look for funny things to make me laugh, or I, try to support other, people that are doing paranormal stuff every once in a while. So that's generally my approach. But it's neither here nor there. Whatever. I feel bad that guy felt that way, and that he felt that he needed to, air his laundry, and publicly like that. But either way, it is what it is. But I did take that tweet and put it up on Facebook. I was like, wow. My opinion is basically if you need me to agree with you in order to have your follow or your friend request or whatever, then just delete yourself right now because I'm not going to align myself based on what you believe, Anyway, enough about that. I don't know. But this is the Night Terrors. This isn't political theater. But I guess it's really just my first experience with that personally. Of course, I'm aware of it. I've seen other people going through it, and I'm always like, oh, God, it's terrible. But this is my first personal experience with it. I guess I probably have to get to the point where I just ignore those kind of things, but it's kind of new to me. So what do you do? All right. I got a story here pulled up for you guys. I think this is kind of interesting. It comes out of Illinois. Sorry, I'm a little froggy. That's what happens when you devour a brat right before showtime. I'm out doing the keto thing, and it's like, I love meat, but all right. It says, when I was about 7 years old, my mom, my brother, and I lived in a small 3-bedroom house in a nondescript little town in west central Illinois. I'd been aware of all of the paranormal for quite some time, as we'd lived in a house that in the 1800s had been something like an abortion center. Oh, man. Excuse me. The summer after my birthday, my grandmother bought me and my younger half-sister a glow-in-the-dark Muppet shirt that were just too big for us, so instead we used them as night shirts. I loved the shirt and wore it all the time. That fall, though, after the leaves had fallen off the trees, I remember because I looked out the window and I became scarred from that shirt for life. I'd fallen asleep lying in my usual spot. I had a small bedroom with a bunk bed, and I slept on the bottom bunk, my head in line with the windows, but on the far side of the bed, a twin-size mattress. I remember waking up mentally realizing that Bluey, my stuffed rabbit, had fallen off the bed. I had an attachment issue to him, so it was a big deal. Still, I hadn't opened my eyes because I felt as though somebody was watching me. I remember through my eyelids a bright green light and at the same color as my shirt. I figured it was just my shirt, but I wanted to make sure. I pulled the covers over my head and opened my eyes, and I hadn't looked at my shirt yet, but I remember the light was definitely coming from the other side of my blankets. I looked down and was shocked, only to realize my shirt was plain white. No Muppets. No glow-in-the-dark, just plain white t-shirt. Without removing the covers, I took the shirt off and checked all sides of it. There was still nothing there. Well, I pulled the shirt back on and sat up and yanked the covers down over my head so that I could see. Sorry, I gotta scroll. There, sitting on the end corner of my bed, was a young boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old. He had pale hair and dark eyes, and honestly, he looked a lot like me. We stared at each other for a few minutes, and then there was a smug look about him as he stared at me in a rather cool way, and I looked at him with what I'm sure was horror mixed with incredulity. Horror because I knew he wasn't human, and incredulity because of his impish little body. Was my Muppet's shirt pattern. My Muppets were glowing at me from his spectral body, and they seemed scary at that point. I tried screaming for my mom, but my throat was tight, almost like I was paralyzed or mute. I can only describe it by saying it was like I was going to cry, but never did. After what seemed like an eternity, the spirit boy crawled over to me, his hands making little indentations on the bed as his weight shifted forward, and he sat on his knees in front of me, between me and the window, and he sat there for a minute, our noses maybe 3 inches apart. And then he smiled, or bared his teeth. His teeth, I remember, were normal, except that where he should have had canines, he had fangs. Fangs as in kind of big, the big dogs have. Pointy, sharp, kind of curved, but not much. I was still registering what his teeth were when he disappeared, just vanished. No fading away, no transition. One moment there, and the next absolutely gone. Well, I felt like screaming, but I still couldn't speak. About 5 minutes after he left, the Muppets materialized. Yes, just slowly appeared where they belonged on my shirt, on my body. I was too afraid to move. Too afraid what else might be in my room and under my bed, or to go to my mom or even grab Bluey. A few weeks later, my great-grandfather Alan died. I've seen him maybe 4 times since then, and each time preceding a major life-altering loss. I'd also like to point out that I've moved multiple times since then, and I feel him a lot, but still haven't seen him, which I'm really glad for. He never grew up, at least in appearance. The time he appeared to me before my boyfriend's car accident, though, he looked sad. I saw him in the mirror in my bedroom for a few seconds, looking as though he wanted to say something, but he disappeared before either of us could. Has anybody else experienced anything like this little boy? I don't think he's evil or good, but just there. I don't know, but I definitely had to share. That's really creepy. The reflective patterns or the glow-in-the-dark patterns disappeared from the shirt and apparently appeared on this little child. That's strange. That's really creepy. No, I've never heard of something like that, but it makes you wonder, what could it be? Again, though, I don't think it's as simple with spirits to say, well, that's obviously, that was a shadow person, or that was a child spirit, or maybe it was a cherub. It's just not that easy, and obviously it's because I think spirits can appear however they want. I think that sometimes spirits do choose to appear as a black mass. Sometimes they will appear as a mist. Sometimes they'll appear as an orb. Sometimes they'll appear as an apparition of a person, maybe the person they were, but maybe an entirely different person. You don't know. Certainly that comes up in the case of doppelgangers. They appear as people that they obviously aren't. What does it mean? I don't know. But I don't think it's as simple as saying, well, that's this kind of spirit, and so therefore this. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. I think it would really require someone with quite a degree of sensitivity to be able to dial that in and tell you what you're dealing with. I just don't know. From the narrative, I can't tell, but my heart goes out to that person to have had that experience, and of course, to have the premonitions as well. I think that's pretty tough. That's got to be tough. Well, at least that the ghost acted as a premonition, I should say. I'm just pulling open some more stories here. All right, so let's see how we're doing now. I got some more open, and the first one is coming from Ohio, ladies and gentlemen. Ohio is on deck. Of course, Ohio. Everything happens in Ohio. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Ohio, but there is everything there. And I've said this many times on the show, but it still boggles my imagination. Now, I don't think that that's unique to Ohio. I think every state has Bigfoot. Every state obviously has ghosts. Every state has potentially UFOs and stuff. But it seems like just the amount that Ohio has is just so much more than everybody else. And I don't know why. I don't know what has happened in Ohio or what's there that we don't know about. I don't know. But Ohio is definitely something strange going on there. Maybe it's some kind of ley line convergence that happens or something to that degree. I don't know. Very strange, though. All right, so I'm just checking out how you guys doing in the chat. Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. All right, so let's get to this one. It says this has to do with miscellaneous, so there's lots of different activity in this one, apparently. I moved into this house with my mom back in 2008. We were renting, and we moved in, and all I could think was, this place isn't haunted. Because that was the feeling I got. Am I a sensitive? No. I just guessed. Because my dad's house has a couple of ghosts, and they let you know that they're there. I'm not sure if I was wrong or right about that. Well, I stayed up late in the summer. I usually do. I'm really a night owl by nature, to put it simply, and throughout the summer, I had a few experiences. I was on the phone with a friend sitting near the door leading to the dining room, and I distinctly heard someone say hello from right behind me. I remember spinning around in the chair, and it was a spinny chair, and looking into the dining room, and I asked my friend, if anyone had just said hello to her, or if we're just picking up someone's signal, and she said no, as if I was crazy or I ignored it. I ignored it, saying it was just my mind messing with me because it was late. I was lying on the couch watching television at night with my cat on my lap, and when I got a strange feeling about the dining room. I kept glancing towards it, waiting to see something walk by or appear, but nothing ever did. I started to fall asleep when suddenly my cat jumped up, and I looked at her and noticed she was staring into the dining room, tail fluffy, growling as if it were a man. She dislikes males. Had actually walked by, but no one was up, and she calmed down after a few minutes. My cat never used to growl before, unless it was at dogs that were in the basement. I don't know what it was. I also had something rub against my leg that wasn't there, but that doesn't pertain to this, so I won't bother writing it all out. Well, my mom is afraid of ghosts, and I always joked with her that this house was haunted ever since we moved in, and I claimed that there was a little girl named Gracie in my bedroom. Of course, she knew I was lying, and she told me to quit before I make anyone, if there is anyone here, angry. Well, I ignored her and kept throwing out jokes about spirits in our house, and I said there was a man and a girl and that they weren't friends. I made up foolish stories and told my mom all kinds of ridiculous stuff just to get a laugh. I really didn't mean any harm by it. I thought it was all fun until the night I had the dream of a boy. He had to be a teenager, probably between the ages of 16 or 19. I remember his dark hair and his dark eyes. In my dream, I was standing in the kitchen, staring in the window, thinking, wouldn't it be freaky if I saw someone standing behind me? Well, I glanced behind me and then back at the door. I screamed because behind me stood the boy, glaring at me and looking completely livid. Well, I just ran from him, running into the dining room and up the steps. He followed me, chased after me. I ran into my mom's room and hid beside her bed, but he eventually found me. He picked me up by my shirt, holding my body close to his, as he screamed in my face. He screamed of death and how I was rude for making fun of him. He told me that his death was not funny, and I distinctly remember him saying, "My father shot me 6 times in the head. Is that funny?" Before he finally threw me on the ground. I ran from him, crying and screaming for my mom. I went on a normal day after that, but everywhere I went in my house, he appeared. When I entered my room, he would be standing near my closet. When I entered the kitchen, he stood in the corner near the sink. When I was in the bathroom, he was standing by the washer. He wouldn't go away, and he kept trying to talk to me. He kept trying to apologize for screaming, for scaring me. But I just wouldn't listen. I didn't want him near me. Well, I woke up frightened and scared that he really existed. Had this been a warning? I told my mom, and she told me that was what I got for joking about ghosts all the time. You never know if they're just hiding. Very true. I think I think that they could always be around. I don't know. It seems if you think about our lives and our history, for instance, any place where there's been civilization for hundreds of years, especially in Europe and thousands of years, even here in the States, but of course our civilizations have changed from the First Nations civilization to the Western civilization that, we brought over with us and ended up basically burying theirs, which is unfortunate. But anyway, the point being that for all of the lives that have existed, now I have a theory about some ghosts, and I think that some ghosts are just fragments of the people that they were. They are parts. Maybe they're parts that were broken. Maybe they're parts that are damaged and couldn't transition. Like the parts that were healthy and good were able to transition into the next life. And whether you believe in reincarnation or not, I'm just putting it out there that maybe then that person could reincarnate again into another body, or they could just be happy forever in their heavenly place. Whatever the case is, I don't pretend to know because I don't remember being there if I was there. But what if there's parts of us that can't transition? Like there's broken parts of us. And so when we pass away, are these parts left behind? And do these parts then have a consciousness of their very own? And are these parts able to then continue to progress through that, whatever traumas or damages or problems that they had, and will then rejoin the I don't know, for lack of a better term, main soul that resides in the next world? And I don't know. I mean, I think about that because I mean, we all have a damage. We all have damage to us, but we're all, I think, essentially most everybody is good. Like we have at our core, I hope, I believe, I want to believe that primarily people are good. That they maybe have a lot of scars and they maybe got broke a bunch in their lives, and so maybe part of them moves on and part of them stays. And so if that's the case, how many of these parts could be left? Because I'm trying to reconcile in my own mind, I guess, what happens after this. I kind of believe in the whole reincarnation idea personally. And that's just me. That's just, me. I'm not pretending that has to be your belief. Believe whatever you will, but it just seems to me that our journey in life is probably our growth, our learning, and our becoming better at loving and embracing life and life around us, and becoming perhaps more godlike or Christ-like or whatever you want to say. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter the label you attach to that, but I think that this is a series of progressions. But some parts of us I don't think would be able to continue on that journey in the same pace or in the same place. But I don't know, just a weird convoluted idea. I'm just throwing that out there because I don't know. I think about this stuff all the time, and I really want to try to understand what it is we're doing and experiencing, and what it is we're going through, and why. And I don't know. That's one of the things that have come up for me personally. Again, believe what you will, and any belief is just as valid as any other. But it's just my own personal curiosity. I hope I hope you guys that are listening will let me know in the comments what you think, because these are really pretty powerful existential kind of questions. And the reason I put them out there is not to sit and try to sound smart. I really don't. I'm not here to, look at me, look at how much I think about stuff. It's not that. I'm putting it out there because I genuinely want to know what you guys think. I want to know, what is your belief about this? What have you learned? What have you seen? Because you guys can teach me too. And, it's not just me filling up a mic with noise and then I, get done and turn it all off and go do my thing. I carry this with me all the time, and I'm always thinking of these things. So please, if you have ideas, if you have philosophies about this, let me know, because I really do genuinely, sincerely want to know what everybody thinks. So that's why I started a portal. So I think that story is really, really pretty amazing. I tend to believe that this person probably did. There's an old saying, you never mock the dead. Don't ever mock the dead. Don't ever challenge the universe, and don't ever mock the dead. Those are the two big ones that I heard growing up. And I believe that that's true. Because if there is earthbound spirits, the last thing that they need, if they're already dealing with a ton of crap, is some person, some fleshy running around making fun of them, That would be disgraceful and disgusting. And I'm sure that if you want to find out if you got a ghost around, start making jokes about it. Because they tend to get fed up and let you know. So just 2 cents, but never play with that kind of stuff, because there's some other stuff that was never human and won't have any problem tearing you down either. So, all right, let's continue. But thanks for listening to me. Thanks for listening when I do air those ideas. Again, it's not me trying to brag or anything. It's just, this is what I'm thinking about. And I know it's not really the scope of the show, and I always am hesitant to put too much of myself into the show, because the show's not about me. It's about a discussion. So, but I do want to hear your part of that discussion. So let me know. Okay, so I'm going to move on to Oregon. Actually, that's a perfect segue into an announcement about tomorrow's podcast. Is going to be Diana from Oregon. She's had a whole lifetime full of experiences, and we actually had to do 2 parts. We had to do 2 podcast episodes just to get to most of her stories, and we still didn't get to all of them. But she's really been experienced some pretty incredible things, and I hope you guys tune into that. That'll be available sometime after midnight tonight. So look for it if you would. I really appreciate it. And we really appreciate all of you guys checking out the podcasts. So, Oregon, and this one is a miscellaneous one as well. It says, it was 1987, and I moved from Indiana to California. I was 21 years old, and I had my son with me. I was no longer married. I came out to California so that I could get away from the strong religious background that I grew up in. I was raised Jehovah's Witness, and I never adhered to the religion. No offense to any Jehovah's Witnesses. I just wanted to hear about Jesus more, so I left after I saved up enough money to set things up. I visited my dad, who lived in L.A. since 1960. He had a sort of cult going on, and people from the entertainment industry were always coming to get their charts read at Venice Beach in the evenings. He wanted me to join this thing he put together, so some people believed him to be some sort of prophet. One day he wanted to read my charts and set out at 6 p.m. to Venice Beach, California. He told me that would come back to tell me about the reading. I don't understand that sentence. It says one day he wanted to read my charts and set out at 6 p.m. And then the next sentence is to Venice Beach, California, in parentheses, USA. He told me that he would come back to tell me about the reading. Whenever someone reads or tells my fortune, they always become frightened. and I really don't know why. They never actually tell me. Well, I'm pretty comfortable with myself. I'm different in a sense, so it's okay. Well, he came back looking frightened and puzzled. I'd planned to talk to him on his return, as I thought his readings were not for me. Before he sat down, I asked him what he found out about me, and he said nothing. I asked him if he was okay because he looked frightened. I could clearly see that something was wrong. I told him that it's unfair that if he'd found something out and would not tell me, and I asked if I was a mean person. Was that it? He wouldn't even look me in the eyes. I had a heart-to-heart talk with him, explaining that I could not adhere to his teachings. I just came out of the Jehovah's Witness religion and not a person who believes everything just because a person feels they are called or chosen to lead a group or anything. I didn't mean any offense, but he grew upset and told me that I had to leave his home. Wow. I realized that my money had been stolen from my purse by him. I was in deep trouble because I had nowhere to go. He made an evil comment. I hope they find you in a dumpster. My God, who the hell would talk to their kid that way? That is so horrible. I couldn't believe he said something like that. Why was he so mad? And how could he talk this way to anyone? At 12 noon the next day, he reminded me to get out. I felt like I walked right into hell when I found myself and child on Skid Row, downtown LA. I saw literal spirits of men who belonged in a mental institution. I asked a few people why so many severely mental ill people were out on the streets, and they said something about a law that President Reagan had passed where these people can no longer stay in institutions for their mental disorders. I had no idea that a law like this was passed, and it was more than dangerous for anyone to be amongst most of them. A Mexican lady who was also homeless with 2 little boys befriended me and smuggled me into her aunt's house in Riverside. I had to leave when the aunt found out that Maria was stealing food and milk for me and my baby. I left Indiana terminally ill. I believe in healing, so of course I was not going to tell my Jehovah's Witness friends and families that I had cancer of the cervix or that the doctors gave me 2 years to live at the most. I wanted to be healed. I was only 21 years old, so I left Indiana with cancer regardless. Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in healing. I had to find a shelter. Maria paid for a one-way Greyhound bus ticket with her last $20 for me and my child to go to Orange County, California. God bless Maria. This was an old hospital that was now a shelter, and I was accepted and in need to rest. I was very ill from the terminal disease that I tried to hide. After a few days, I was made by the staff to go through emergency. An Ethiopian woman drove me to Humana Hospital. The doctors tried to break the bad news that I already knew. They wanted me to get on chemotherapy and radiation. I had no intentions of doing so. I was not receiving the disease regardless. I wanted to live without being sick. There were 3 sanctified women at the shelter who wanted me to go to their Pentecostal church with them. No one knew of my illness, and I turned down their offer. There were 2 African American women and a Caucasian woman, and they wanted everybody to get saved, and I was reminded over and over that I was going to hell if I didn't go to church and to be saved. I caused a lot of contention in the shelter with these 3 women purposely, just so that they would see they are human like everyone else. One night I decided to lay down at 9 p.m. Everybody except children stayed up talking and eating till 11. I wanted to be home alone. I wanted to be alone for some reason. I kept the shelter jumping, they said. I put my son to sleep and lay him in his crib, and I opened the window of my room and felt the breeze as I lay on the bed gazing at the street lamp. The cool September air made this perfect. A member staff that checked on the children at 9 cracked open the door to my room. I saw her, but I pretended I was asleep. The next day we had to go to our jobs outside of the shelter and do chores for the guests who had no outside employment yet. Everybody was staring at me like I was Mother Teresa. As we all congregated in the lounge for the group meeting, I asked why everybody was looking at me. One of the staff members said that she'd explain after the meeting. She smiled warmly. This lady is usually very mean. I wondered what had happened to her since yesterday, when she yelled at the guest who claimed that ghosts were in the shelter. One lady said that when she went downstairs to get something, the morgue, that a spirit punched her in the eye. She came upstairs with a swollen eye. After meeting the guest, they were still looking at me in an admirable way, like I was so holy. I was confused, and I was thinking of getting out of that place soon. The staff asked me to go with them as they had something to tell me, when a little boy accused me of being a ghost in his room last night. I was about to ask this child what he was talking about, and he yelled this like I was a monster or something. I was in my room with my child last night trying to sleep. I was stopped by his mom and 2 other staff members, and the child's mom told her son she was protecting us. So now I wanted to know what she was talking about. The staff said that this is what they wanted to explain to me. They had smiles on their faces and could not wait to tell. I asked the little boy, "Did you get hurt?" His mother demanded that he keep quiet and that I was guarding them. One of the staff said that there was a very tragic event that occurred at the shelter last night in which I broke up the activity. Well, I didn't break up any activity. I was asleep. Listen to me, I have to explain. You are a spirit of some sort that comes against evil. What? Now calm down. It's all okay. It's a good thing. I calmed down and stared at them for a short second, and Robin, the lady with the little boy, laughed, excuse me, nervously to break up this awkwardly silent moment. I asked what happened. The place where we keep donations, the old downstairs morgue, well, the door slammed open around 9 p.m. or so, and a mass of dark shadows came out. Shadow people, I believe. The presence was unbearable, and there were so many of them, they came into all the staff's room and family's room and physically tried to kill them. They even went after some of the women sexually, and they had tied several children up in their bed sheets and tied the sheets onto the 4 corner knots. And they were all screaming and crying, and the only thing us staff could do was call the police. The police could not even break down the door nor break the windows to get inside. There were several footsteps upon the roof, and a man was at the front door of the shelter on a bike, claiming that he had some clothes to donate. Men are not allowed in the shelter. If the police tried to break the window of the shelter, the window that I was lying by would be the first to break because it was near the front entrance of the shelter. I didn't tell them this. I was just trying to make sense of their story. One of the staff proceeds, "We were screaming out for God to help us." I interrupted, "Did anyone get killed?" "No, thank God. But Ashley had a severe breakdown and she won't be coming back." "Did the police ever get inside?" "Well, you came down the hall corridor. You were all white and as solid spirit, completely white." "What?" "Yes. They were screaming, 'Here comes,' and then they said my name. And I had supposedly walked into every room and the spirits were hitting the walls with what they described as a thud, running in fear. I don't know, this is a little weird. The spirits literally left the shelter through the walls and windows of what they described as running in sheer terror. As I approached each room, the little boy who said I was in his room probably didn't understand what was going on. His mom said that I opened the door and said, "Robin, it's all right, they're leaving." By this time, some of the residents were walking up to our conversation and waiting to tell their story. Some of the women were traumatized as they were taken advantage of and stayed away from everyone else in seclusion. You could clearly see that they were traumatized. We decided to go into the lounge as the stories were draining my energy. I was becoming exhausted. I had to sit down to hear as much as I could. I was really shaken by their stories, but I tried not to show it. This is really long. I don't know. This is one of those stories it's kind of out there, so just bear with me. I mean, it's not uninteresting, but it's just almost too much. I was asked if I remembered anything that night, and I explained that I had gone to bed at 9. I didn't hear anything. The residents looked shocked at me. I explained I was not in the halls or in their rooms. The staff and residents insisted that I was. I wanted a description of this woman, who they said was me, and they described her as me, but with hair down to her waist. Well, my hair was not down to my waist then. It was to my shoulders. Odd enough, my hair is near my waist today, years later. And they said she had on the same clothes that I wore, but that she was a real angel of God with a peaceful spirit. I had started all kinds of trouble in the shelter, especially with the sanctified women who continuously told me that I was going to hell. I was even rebuked several times in the name of Jesus, and now I was this peaceful angel. I noticed that the 3 sanctified women were really quiet, so I asked one of them if I came into their room as well. Yes, you did, and I felt the Holy Spirit. This means that you're going to be saved. You better get saved now because you are evidently the chosen one. These demons were screaming bloody murder when they saw you, and the other woman adds her comments. That presence was not an evil presence. I've never seen anything like this before, but that was God's presence. One of the staff said the presence was of peace. I again told him I was in my bedroom and was not in the hallway. I was more concerned that someone was pretending to be me, but I thought that I shouldn't say it wasn't so, since this supposed person helped them tremendously. We're getting there. I departed to my room, and the Caucasian lady, who was one of the 3 Christian ladies, grabbed my arm in excitement and says that she has to tell me something that I would understand. She told me to come to her room in haste. I was so tired by then, and I sat in the chair. As she got out her black leather Bible, she said, "Listen closely as I read you this scripture." She read the passage out of the Old Testament. I didn't understand it, and she gave her interpretation of it. I can't recall the scripture she read, but she said, "You are one of the 40 part angel and part humans that are left on the earth." They teach this in the Pentecostal church? No, ma'am. This was revealed to some people on earth. How's that? The Holy Spirit speaks to some people clearly. You take this Bible, I'm giving it to you, read it. He is going to talk to you. I took the Bible, thanked her, and went to my room. What is going on, I thought. A month later, my family doctor swore I was in Jerusalem leading a tour. He had just got back from his 2 weeks vacation. I was one of the 40 Jews that were still on earth. He claimed I spoke with him for nearly two hours. He said I had led the tour every year, and I've never been out of the country, USA, and I wouldn't purposely go to Jerusalem because of the fighting. He could not believe that I didn't remember him, and he said that after the tour, I asked to speak to him privately of something that he didn't understand in Revelations. My doctor stared, looking confused, and I briefly told him that a month prior some people had said something similar, but I don't recall being in the places that they say I was in. He looked confused and left work early. I had gone to him because I was healed from cancer, and he had me schedule me for a hysterectomy. I remembered my last visit to him. He was upset that I allowed the cancer to get to that point without chemotherapy and radiation treatments I refused to take. And after him, several doctors examined me, and they became confused because they said my blood type changed from B to O positive, and that all my cells were new. When the doctors left, they were looking at me like I was an alien. My doctor shut the door behind them and then revealed that I was in Jerusalem, and he said that there is an article in the National Geographic for August or September 1988 of this sect of Jews. He said that I will see myself in this magazine, and that scared me when he said that, so I never went out to purchase the 88 edition. I looked the edition up years later, but I cannot find any article on a rare sect of Jews in Jerusalem. Maybe I didn't look hard enough, or maybe that was another timeline. I don't know. Very strange. Is it possible? I don't know. I guess. I don't know. These kind of stories are really confusing. It sounds interesting. It sounds too much. I don't know. I don't know what to think of stories like that. I mean, I like to keep an open mind and not say, this seems fake or real, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll let you guys draw your own distinctions from that one. It's a very unique story, is all I can say. I've not heard of anything like that before. That was a first. Then let's see how we doing. Oh, okay. This one is from Wisconsin. It says, my mom's side of the family is really religious. Many relatives have premonitions and visions, especially my late grandmother. My mother started to get them when she was young, but then prayed that she did not want them and has not had them since. This story is about my uncle, my mom's brother, and a very real experience that he had. Years ago in the 70s or so, my uncle was driving on a back road in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. It was a country road, and there were no other cars around. Well, into his drive, he finally came across another car full of teenage boys. The boys started to mess with him, and they would tailgate him, pass and then slow down, and they would start to run him off the road. He never saw a weapon, but he was scared that they might have one. They were yelling at him and cursing him, and he was all alone on this deserted road, and there wasn't much he could do. Then from nowhere, a third car appeared on the road. The third car came up from behind my uncle, and the car full of boys stopped trying to run him off the road. They eventually turned off into another dirt road and left my uncle alone. He was thankful for the third car turning up, especially when he hadn't seen another car for a while. He looked into the rearview mirror to see who was driving and was astonished. The car was completely empty. He could see the moonlight from behind the car shining through, and seconds later the car slowed down and disappeared from sight. My uncle believes it was a guardian angel. Gotta love those stories. Gotta love our guardian angel stories. Supposedly we all have them. I don't know. I guess that's a good thing, right? That's a really good thing. And then there's one more. Let's see, how long is this? This one's okay. This will be the last one for tonight. And this comes from New Hampshire. It has to do with sleep paralysis. This all started a few years ago. My sister and I started to feel that there was something in our house. Our parents didn't believe us at all. My sister has never told me exactly what happened to her, but I do know that her bed would shake at night. This one sounds familiar. The last three stories have sounded familiar to me. I don't know why. About 2 years ago was when the most activity was happening. Things would sound like they would fall, and then when we would get up and look, nothing would be out of place. Well, one night my sister had a few friends over because they had a field trip for school early the next morning. That night I had a very bizarre and scary dream. I suddenly woke up to find I couldn't move, and I had a heavy feeling on my chest. I tried to yell for my sister, but I couldn't talk. And after about 15 or 20 seconds, it went away. And I tried not to think about it, and I went back to sleep. About an hour later, the same thing happened again. After this incident, there wasn't much that went on. Recently, things have started back up again. Last night, at about 12 a.m., I had a bizarre and scary dream and woke up to an extremely heavy feeling on my chest. My arms were pinned to my chest, and I couldn't move. I tried to yell for my mom, but again, I couldn't talk. I tried to tell myself it was just a dream and attempted to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. I felt like someone was intensely watching me, and I couldn't take it anymore, so I went down into the living room and asked my sister if she had anything happen to her recently. She said that she woke up one night and felt like someone was pressing down on her chest. Every night she felt like someone would touch her and that someone was always watching, and that's why she started to sleep in the living room. When I told her what happened to me, she wouldn't even let me go back to my own room. When I woke up this morning, I went up to my room to get ready for school and had a strong feeling that someone was watching me. I don't know if I should be scared or just accept this, but I am definitely scared. The only places that things ever happen are on the second floor of our house. If you have any advice on what I could do, it'd be greatly appreciated. Well, I'll say this, that sleep paralysis, if it is indeed spiritually induced, you can apply spiritual measures. You can apply protections. You can apply prayers. You can use rituals, holy water, crystals, incense, sage, anything that you would use to try to get a spirit out of a house, you can use for sleep paralysis to see if it's perhaps spiritual related. You could take some sea salt and sprinkle it around your floor, around your bed, create a barrier. You could hang, what to you are holy objects. You can say prayers, all of those things. And if it is indeed spiritually, it should help some. I don't know, but depends on your faith, obviously. Anytime you're doing something in the spirit, it's a reflection of your faith, your ability to believe in what you're doing. So, but faith is powerful when it comes to religion, obviously. But I guess that's going to wrap it up for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed this journey through the Paranormal Portal once again. And once again, please check out our podcast. It'll be released after midnight. You can find us on Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes. God, there's so many of them. Google Play. We're on Google Play. I mean, we're on just many of them. The only one I know that we're not on is Stitcher, but maybe we can get on Stitcher sometime in the near future. I'm working on it, but just so you know. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you tonight. I wish you again happy Easter, happy Estra Ostara, however you pronounce it, whatever you observe. Just know that I love you guys, and I'm really glad to be here with you. I'm honored that you're here with me. It means the world. So you guys have a wonderful night. Have a great tomorrow. And I'll be back tomorrow evening for more night terrors. So I hope you guys will join me. I'll be back and we'll do it all over again. But love you all. Be good. Be kind. Be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'm doing that, Ethan. Ethan says, thank you. Good night, Brent. Kick some butts. I'll do my best. Good night, Carrie. Thank you. It's good to see you. I'm glad you stopped in. That's a new name, Carrie Barath. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. But Adrienne, welcome. That's another new name. Patrick, good to see you. I'm just saying hello to everybody. Justin, good to see you, brother. MCAT, Lewis, Jordan, I think. D, good to see you. D Singer. Ken, all of you guys. Overbuilt, good to see you. 5 Hazel, Pam, L, good to see you. Judy, good to see you. Or Jody, rather, sorry. And Sam Squatch, and Duke, and everyone else out there. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't pull up the participants list. I'm just watching the chat roll by. Ken, good to see you, brother. All right, love you all, and I will talk to you. Nobody knows how to say it. I'm sorry, Carrie. I don't mean to butcher anybody's name, but I do appreciate you're here. So if you can forgive my pronunciation. Stacy, hi. Good to see you. Bomber, of course. And Rachel gets it right. Lots of love. Good night to you, Aussie Tiger. Thank you, brother. And I'm a new name? No, Renee, I know you. Of course I know you. Remember, before I launch these shows, I'm actually opening the chat room about a half hour early. So watch the channel or watch Facebook for the announcements. If you click on the announcements on Facebook for the night show, you should be able to click it and it'll open the new episode waiting, and you can start chatting early if you want. So I've been doing that as requested, and I got to tell you, Ethan's been number one every night in a row since I've been opening this thing early. So just saying, but he was, Ethan and Lindsay came in at about the same time. So, but I think Ethan edged her out there just a little bit. All right. Good night, Mo. Good to see you, brother. Thank you. And yeah, of course you're old school, Renee. You ain't new. Oh, Bigfoot Rob. Good to see you, Big Rob. Welcome again, brother. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if any new names popped up, but I'm not seeing them. Did the Queen show up? Queen Cha-Cha. All right. Well, anyway, guys, good night. I'll see you tomorrow night, and sweet dreams.